Dr. Ilara Kane pressed her palms against her burning eyes, the holographic displays of Luna Observatory's central lab bathing her face in ghostly blue light. 72 hours without proper sleep, sustained only by synthetic caffeine and scientific obsession. The anomalous energy signatures had first appeared 3 days ago, mathematical patterns too precise to be natural phenomena, too consistent to be equipment malfunction. Running final verification sequence, she murmured to no one in particular. The lab had emptied hours ago, her colleagues retreating to their quarters as night fell across the lunar surface. Only Ilara remained, chasing whispers from the void. The verification algorithm completed with a soft chime. Identical results, 18 distinct energy signatures scattered across 15 star systems, each emitting the same mathematically perfect sequence of pulses at precisely calculated intervals. Not random, not natural, and according to every database search, completely unknown to human science. Computer, transmit findings to my personal archive with encryption protocol Epsilon 9, she said, her voice hoarse from fatigue. This discovery required caution. The International Space Authority had strict protocols about potential alien technology. Bureaucracy would bury this for months. Movement reflected in her screen made her turn sharply. Empty lab. Shadows stretching from equipment racks. Just paranoia from exhaustion, she told herself. You should sleep, Dr. Kane, said the lab eye. Your cognitive functions are showing significant decline. After one more test, she replied, fingers already dancing across the interface. Convert the pulse sequence to audio. Normalize for human hearing range. The lab speakers crackled, then filled with sound. Not random noise, not mechanical beeping, but something hauntingly melodic. A sequence that rose and fell like breath, with mathematical precision underlying what could almost be called music. Goosebumps rose along Ilara's arms as the pattern repeated, subtly altered, evolved. She felt tears forming in her eyes without understanding why. My God, she whispered. They're alive. The observatory's security alarm blared suddenly, jolting her from reverie. Red warning lights pulsed throughout the lab. Unauthorized access detected in Sector 7, announced the AI. Security protocols activated. Sector 7, the primary server vault, where her initial findings were stored. Ilara lunged for the emergency terminal, entering her override codes. Security cameras showed a figure in maintenance coveralls systematically destroying server banks. Face obscured, movements precise. Not random vandalism, targeted data destruction. Computer, lock down the vault. She commanded, already moving toward the lab's weapon locker. Unable to comply. Security systems have been compromised. The holographic display flickered, the energy signatures pulsing more rapidly across her screen as if responding to her panic. No, not her panic. The signatures were changing independently, their rhythm accelerating in perfect synchronization across 15 different star systems. As if they were waking up, as if they had noticed. Computer, broadcast all findings on emergency channel to Earth Science Authority. Authentication Kane Delta 37. She ordered, pulling a shock pistol from the locker and checking its charge. The lab door hissed open. The figure from the security feed stood silhouetted against the corridor's emergency lights, face hidden behind an atmospheric filter mask. In one fluid motion, they raised a weapon toward Ilara. Dr. Kane, the voice distorted by electronic modulation. Step away from the console. The data must be contained. Ilara dived behind a research station as the intruder's weapon discharged, searing the wall where she'd stood. Rolling into firing position, she squeezed the shock pistol's trigger twice. Both shots missed, superheating the metal doorframe. You don't understand what you've found, the figure called, advancing into the lab with practiced efficiency. Some discoveries must remain buried. Who sent you? Ilara demanded, scrambling backward, keeping equipment between them. ISA wouldn't authorize this. There are authorities beyond your ISA, came the reply. Beyond Earth. Beyond humanity. The intruder's next shot destroyed the main holographic projector, showering the lad with sparks. Ilara gasped as fragments of hot plastic seared her cheek. Through the smoke and confusion, she glanced at her backup terminal and froze. All 18 energy signatures were now pulsing rapidly, their pattern shifting from mathematical precision to something almost frantic, directly responding to the violence unfolding in her lab. As she watched, secondary emissions began appearing around the primary signals, defensive subroutines awakening after eons of dormancy. The intruder had reached her primary workstation, attaching a device that would wipe its quantum storage. They hadn't noticed the backup terminal still active behind the damaged equipment rack. Too late, Ilara whispered, not to her attacker, but to the distant, ancient things stirring from their slumber across the stars. We see you now, and you see us. The pulse patterns across 15 star systems synchronized into a single resonant harmony. Quiet no more. Commander Vance Holloway stood at the viewport of the Prometheus, watching as Tav City's yellow light bathed the bridge in warm gold. 3 weeks in slip space had left the crew on edge, and the weight of responsibility pressed down on his shoulders like a physical force. 13th scan complete, Commander, announced Lieutenant Chen from the security station. Still no sign of the structure. Vance nodded, feeling the familiar tightness in his jaw. 3 decorated captains had declined this mission before Central Command approached him. Now he understood why. The coordinates from Luna Observatory led to empty space. Dr. Kane, he called, turning to where Ilara hunched over her station. We've searched the entire stellar region. Your energy signatures are still present, she interrupted, not looking up. The left side of her face bore the healing burns from the attack at Luna, a constant reminder of how close they'd come to losing this discovery. The structure is here. We're just not seeing it properly. With respect, Doctor, Chief Science Officer Prakish interjected, we've deployed every sensor array in the fleet's arsenal. If something was here, something attacked me on Luna to prevent this discovery. Ilara snapped. I watched my colleague Dr. Abrams die from equipment failure in quarantine. 2 more researchers vanished during transit. This isn't coincidence. An uncomfortable silence fell across the bridge. They'd all heard the rumors, security breaches, unexplained accidents, the whispers of sabotage. Central Command had rushed the mission preparation, assembling a crew from disparate posts with minimal integration time. Commander, Hiroshi Nakamura spoke from the engineering station, his voice hesitant. I've been developing a theory based on Dr. Kane's data. The energy signatures operate on quantum resonance principles we've only theorized. What if the structure exists in a folded state of space-time? Meaning? Vance prompted. Meaning we can't see it because it's phase-shifted just beyond our perceptual reality. Hiroshi explained, warming to his subject. But our quantum resonance chamber could potentially. Absolutely not, interrupted Major Reynolds, the military liaison. Unauthorized modifications to ship systems violate at least 7 safety protocols. We're not here for safety, Ilara argued, rising from her station. We're here to make contact. We're here to follow procedures. Reynolds countered. Enough. Vance's voice cut through the argument. This mission cost 3 lives before it began. I want. His reprimand died as the lighting throughout the bridge dimmed unexpectedly. Static crackled through communication channels. Navigation displays flickered, showing star charts no one had requested, patterns connecting systems across the galaxy. System malfunction, reported the ship's eye. Unknown source. No, whispered Ilara, staring wide-eyed at her console. Not malfunction. Communication. Before anyone could respond, the viewport shutters slammed closed. Emergency lighting bathed the bridge in red. When the shutters reopened seconds later, the Prometheus was surrounded. What had been empty space now held a massive crystalline structure, miles in diameter, its surface inscribed with shifting mathematical formulas that rearranged themselves even as the crew watched in stunned silence. It hadn't appeared from nowhere. It had been there all along, waiting. "All stations, report," Vance ordered, his voice steady despite the impossible sight before them. "Defensive systems on standby. No one takes any action without direct authorization." "Sir," Chen's voice wavered, "standard first contact protocols." "Yes, Lieutenant. Begin broadcast of the first contact package on all frequencies." For 6 hours, they transmitted linguistic primers, mathematical sequences, peaceful declarations in every human language. The structure remained silent, observing. "This isn't working," Ilara finally admitted, exhaustion evident in her voice. In the tense silence that followed, Hiroshi Nakamura approached Vance's command station, speaking so only the commander could hear. "Sir, the quantum resonance chamber. I've already calibrated it to match the structure's emissions. One pulse could establish genuine communication." Vance studied the young engineer's face. "That's a direct violation of protocol, Mr. Nakamura." "Yes, sir," Hiroshi acknowledged, his expression resolute. "But we didn't cross 16 light-years to follow protocol. We came for answers." Vance looked at the crystalline structure floating before them. Ancient, patient, awakened. Then at his crew, exhausted, frightened, but determined. "Prepare your resonance chamber, Mr. Nakamura," he decided. "Let's make history." "Quantum resonance chamber at maximum capacity," Hiroshi reported, his fingers dancing across the engineering console. The ship's lights dimmed as power redirected to the experimental device, synchronizing with target emissions in 3, 2, 1. A single pulse of energy, invisible but felt as a momentary pressure change throughout the ship, emanated from the Prometheus. For several heartbeats, nothing happened. Then the crystalline structure blazed with light, sending rippling waves of luminescence across its surface. The Prometheus shuddered violently, throwing crew members against bulkheads. Warning klaxons blared as systems throughout the ship overloaded. Hull integrity compromised on decks 3 through 7. Chen shouted over the chaos. Life support failing. Radiation levels spiking. Vance gripped his command chair as the ship bucked beneath him. Emergency protocols. All personnel to survival stations. Through the viewport, the structure continued its transformation. No longer merely illuminated, it now projected ethereal geometric patterns that twisted in impossible dimensions. A piercing tone cut through the ship's communications, modulating rapidly into complex harmonic sequences. "It's responding," Ilara cried, blood trickling from her nose as the pressure in the bridge fluctuated wildly. "We need tow." Her words dissolved into a scream as the console before her erupted in sparks. She collapsed, convulsing on the deck as iridescent patterns formed across her exposed skin, mirroring those displayed by the structure. "Medical team to the bridge," Vance ordered, struggling toward her. Before anyone could reach Ilara, tendrils of crystalline light penetrated the ship's hull without breaching it, passing through solid matter like spectral appendages. They reached toward the fallen scientist, enveloping her in a cocoon of translucent energy. "Don't touch her," Hiroshi warned, scanning frantically. "The energy signature is rewriting her neural pathways." The ship's systems stabilized abruptly, emergency lighting replaced by a soft ambient glow emanating from the walls themselves. Damage reports ceased. Environmental controls normalized. The Prometheus had been repaired, or transformed, by the same force now reshaping Ilara. She rose from the deck, suspended inches above it. Her eyes had become pools of shifting mathematical symbols, her movements fluid yet unnatural. When she spoke, her voice harmonized with subtle undertones that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in the mind. "I have established preliminary communion," she announced, each word precisely articulated. "The interface is painful but functional." "Ilara," Vance approached cautiously. "Are you in control?" "I am myself, Commander, but also more." Her gaze fixed on something beyond the physical confines of the bridge. "They call themselves Nexus. The structure is a node in a vast network created by those you would understand as the architects. A holographic interface blossomed around her, filling the bridge with three-dimensional schematics of unimaginable complexity. Ancient knowledge unfurled before the stunned crew. The birth of stars, the seeding of worlds, civilizations rising and collapsing across billions of years. The architects evolved beyond physical form. Ilara continued, her voice growing weaker as the communion drained her. Hair that had been black now shimmered with streaks of silver. They left the specters as guardians and record-keepers until worthy inheritors emerge. Worthy inheritors, Vance echoed. They mean us. Ilara's answering smile was both radiant and terrible. They have tested many. The council races were rejected for their limitations, their consensus structures, their genetic homogeneity, their emotional suppression. She convulsed suddenly, crying out as more information flooded through her unprepared consciousness. Tears of liquid light tracked down her cheeks. Human neural architecture is different, she gasped. Our chaotic individuality, our emotional range, our capacity to defy our own programming. The pattern matches what they sought. The ship's sensors blared a new warning. Multiple vessels had appeared at the edge of the system, approaching rapidly. Unknown ships detected, Chen reported. Energy signatures match no known human configuration. As if in response, the crystalline structure pulsed once more. The Prometheus shuddered, then steadied as shimmering shields of impossible geometry enveloped the vessel. The council comes, Ilara whispered, her transformed eyes wide with borrowed knowledge. They have culled potential inheritors for millennia. They will not permit our communion. Through the viewport, the approaching ships accelerated, weapon systems activated across their hulls. They are afraid, Ilara said softly, because they know what we do not yet understand. And what's that? Vance asked, preparing battle stations. That the worthy have returned. The council fleet arranged itself in perfect geometric formation around the Prometheus and the awakened Spectre. 18 vessels of diverse design, some organic and flowing, others angular and mechanical, a few barely visible except as distortions in spacetime. All united in purpose, weapons trained on the human ship. Receiving transmission, Chen announced, her voice tight. Multiple formats, resolving now. The bridge view screen flickered, displaying a being that resembled a pillar of incandescent gas contained within an ornate mechanical exoskeleton. When it spoke, the ship's translation matrix struggled to convert concepts rather than mere words. Unauthorized communion detected. Terminal intervention authorized. Surrender the interface subject and withdraw. This is Commander Vance Holloway of the Earth vessel Prometheus. Vance replied, standing tall despite the overwhelming display of force. We are engaged in peaceful first contact with a non-terrestrial intelligence. By what authority do you issue demands? The luminous being pulsed with what might have been amusement or anger. We are the Luminax Overseer Kadath, representing the Galactic Council of 18 systems. Your species remains unregistered and uncategorized. You have activated forbidden technology. The consequence is quarantine or extinction. Ilara stepped forward, her transformed eyes scanning the alien fleet with newfound perception. They lie, she whispered to Vance. The Council doesn't represent 18 systems, but thousands. They've suppressed technological development across the galaxy for millennia. Transmission privacy compromised, the Luminax announced. The interface subject is already corrupted. Final warning. Surrender for decontamination. Vance signaled for the transmission to be muted. Options. The Spectre's shields will hold, Ilara said. But we need time. The communion is incomplete. Sir, Chen interrupted. They're deploying smaller vessels. Boarding configuration. Vance turned to his military liaison. Major Reynolds, prepare defense teams. Commander, the Luminax's voice cut through despite the muted channel. Your situation requires direct intervention. The viewport shimmered as a portion of reality seemed to fold. A delegation of 3 Luminax materialized on the bridge. their containment vessels smaller but no less imposing, surrounded by rippling energy fields that distorted nearby objects. Impressive technology, Vance acknowledged, his hand moving subtly toward his sidearm. Not technology, the lead Luminax corrected. Evolution, what your species might achieve if you survive another 1,000,000 years. If you allow us to, Ilara countered. The central Luminax turned toward her, its luminescence dimming slightly. You do not comprehend the danger, interface subject. We have seen civilizations destroyed by what you now embrace. With a gesture, the Luminax created a three-dimensional projection, a star system consumed by catastrophic energies that collapsed spacetime itself. Then another, and another. Dozens of extinction events played out in seconds. The architects were not benevolent creators, the Luminax continued. They were architects of their own destruction, creating something they could not control. What you call specters are not guardians but warnings. Then why not destroy them? Vance challenged. They cannot be destroyed, only contained. For millennia, we have prevented their activation. Until now, the Luminax's form brightened with what might have been frustration. Your species has undone the work of eons and days. Because you kept others unprepared, Ilara said, the communion lending authority to her words. You didn't protect them. You stunted them. We preserved them, the Luminax countered, as we offer to preserve you. It extended what approximated an appendage, projecting detailed schematics of human neural architecture, with specific regions highlighted for modification. Your species shows concerning potential, imagination unconstrained by caution, individuality unchecked by consensus. Genetic modifications can correct these dangerous traits. Technological restrictions will ensure safe development. You're offering to lobotomize our entire species, Vance said, disgusted. We offer survival, the Luminax replied. The alternative is isolation as the contagion spreads through your systems. Then humane retirement when the danger becomes uncontainable. Extinction by another name, Ilara whispered. The Luminax drew itself taller. You have 18 Earth hours to transmit your acceptance. After that, we deploy the final auction. The delegation vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving behind the lingering scent of ozone and fear. Sir, Hiroshi called from his station, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Council flagship. Something conceptual. It's warping mathematical constants in its vicinity. Ilara's transformed eyes widened in borrowed terror. The conceptual bomb. It won't just destroy the specters. It will erase the principles that allow them to exist. Can we stop it? Vance asked. No, she answered, her voice hollow. But we can now trace it. The communion is spreading. We need to warn Earth before it's too late. Slip space communications jammed, Chen reported, her fingers flying across tactical systems. The Council has established a quantum isolation field around this entire system. Vance paced the bridge, which now bore little resemblance to its original configuration. Crystalline growths had emerged from bulkheads, interfaces had reconfigured into unfamiliar geometries, and the lighting pulsed in patterns that seemed to communicate directly with the crew's subconscious. We need to breach that isolation, he insisted. Earth has to be warned. Ilara convulsed suddenly, collapsing to her knees. Her transformation had accelerated, her skin now translucent in places, revealing luminous crystalline structures beneath. Veins of light traced complex patterns across her body. She can't take much more, Dr. Sato, the ship's physician, warned as she administered another stabilizing injection. Her cellular structure is being rewritten faster than her body can adapt. Ilara's eyes snapped open, no longer recognizably human but windows into mathematical dimensions beyond comprehension. I've seen it, she gasped. The true purpose of the specters. Not weapons, not warnings, but seeds. Seeds of what? Vance asked, kneeling beside her. Transcendence. Evolution. The next stage. Each word seemed to cost her tremendous effort. The architects didn't create the specters as museums or defenses. but as catalysts designed to guide worthy species toward ascension. She seized Vance's hand, her grip painfully strong as energy coursed between them. He felt a momentary flash of her consciousness, vast, fragmented, expanding beyond human limitations. When one specter awakens to a suitable race, it begins a cascade, she continued, activating others throughout the galaxy to prepare a network. It's happening now. 18 systems, then 36, then hundreds. A geometric progression. Hiroshi looked up from his station, face pale. Commander, she's right. I'm detecting quantum entanglement signatures consistent with her description. Other structures are activating across at least 8 known star systems. The Council knew this would happen, Ilara whispered. That's why they're so desperate to stop us. Once the cascade begins, it cannot be halted by conventional means. What does this mean for Earth? Vance demanded. Before she could answer, Ilara's body arched in a spasm of agony. When she recovered, something else looked out through her eyes, something ancient and newly awakened. This vessel is failing, she said, her voice layered with harmonics. The communion proceeds too rapidly for unmodified human physiology. Ilara, stay with us, Vance urged, gripping her shoulders. I am still Ilara, she assured him, though her voice continued to change, but also becoming something more. I understand now what humans truly are to the Architect's plan. Not end users but transitional forms, living bridges between what is and what might be. Across the bridge, other crew members began showing signs of transformation. Lieutenant Chen stared at her console in wonder as her fingers elongated, becoming crystalline tools that interfaced directly with the ship's systems. Hiroshi's eyes developed multispectral vision, allowing him to perceive quantum states directly. It's spreading through the crew, Dr. Sato reported, her medical scanner showing impossible readings. Neural activity increasing exponentially. Cellular restructuring. Quantum entanglement at the DNA level. We're becoming the inheritors, Ilara explained. But the process requires time we don't have. The conceptual bomb will destroy everything if it activates. Vance made his decision. Hiroshi, what's the status of our communications? Conventional systems remain blocked, but his expression changed as new understanding dawned. The ship itself has developed alternative capabilities. The Spectre's influence has rewritten our quantum entanglement arrays. We could potentially broadcast directly through the network itself. Would the Council detect it? No, Ilara answered for him. They exist outside the network. They rejected communion generations ago. Then we broadcast everything, Vance ordered. Not just to Earth Command, but to every human settlement. The truth about the Council, the Spectres, what's happening to us, all of it. No filters, no protocols. That violates every first contact procedure in the book, Reynolds objected. We're beyond procedure, Major, Vance replied, watching as crystalline patterns began forming on his own skin. We're fighting for our species' right to determine its own future. As Hiroshi prepared the transmission, alarm klaxons blared. Beyond the viewport, the Council fleet had begun positioning for attack formation. Conceptual bomb charging sequence at 17%. Chen reported, her transformed fingers dancing across interfaces that no longer required physical contact. Estimated time to full activation, 14 hours, 36 minutes. Begin transmission, Vance ordered, his voice resolute. Let humanity decide its own fate. The transmission from the Prometheus reached Earth in violation of all physical laws, instantaneously connecting every quantum-enabled device across human space. For precious seconds, the entire species shared a unified perspective. The crystalline structure, the transformed crew, the Council's ultimatum, the cascading activation of specters across known space. In the aftermath, chaos erupted. Emergency sessions convened in every government. Religious leaders proclaimed either apocalypse or revelation. Markets crashed, then stabilized as the implications were absorbed. Riots flared in some regions while spontaneous meditation circles formed in others. Aboard the Prometheus, the transformation accelerated. The boundary between ship and crew blurred as neural pathways merged with crystalline systems. Lieutenant Chen could now process tactical information at quantum speeds. Hiroshi's consciousness expanded into the ship's engineering systems, feeling energy flows as extensions of his own body. Commander Holloway sat alone in his quarters, watching as luminous patterns spread across his arms. Unlike the others, he fought the changes, anchoring himself to human identity even as new perceptions threatened to overwhelm him. A chime announced Ilara's arrival. She no longer walked but glided inches above the deck, her form a lattice of crystalline structures housing consciousness. "You're resisting," she observed, her voice simultaneously coming from her transformed body and from the ship around them. "Someone has to remain human," Vance replied, "to remember what we're fighting for. You fear losing yourself, don't you?" Ilara's expression was impossible to read, features rearranging into patterns that conveyed emotions beyond human vocabulary. "I am still myself, Vance. Just more." "And what happens when the more outweighs what was human?" Before she could answer, their consciousnesses were abruptly pulled into shared space, a collective vision gripping the entire crew simultaneously. They witnessed possible futures branching from this moment. Humanity ascending to join the architects, becoming stewards of creation. Humans weaponizing the Spectres' knowledge, becoming galactic conquerors. Civilizations burning as the communion spread uncontrolled. Earth transformed into a crystalline nexus point of unimaginable beauty and terror. The vision collapsed as pain lanced through their connected minds. Somewhere, across 16 light-years of space, another Spectre had been destroyed. "Sirius system," Ilara gasped as awareness returned. The Council deployed a prototype of the conceptual bomb. The crew felt the trauma as if it were happening to their own bodies. The mathematical structure of reality briefly corrupted, the delicate network of communion torn. Several crew members collapsed from the feedback, blood trickling from eyes and ears. "They're testing their weapon," Vance realized, the pain momentarily overriding his resistance to the transformation. "How many hours until the main device activates?" 9 hours, 17 minutes, Chen reported, her voice shaky despite her enhanced capabilities. The ship's communication systems suddenly activated without human input. A message from Earth, not from any government but a collective response, assembled from millions of individual signals merged into coherent form. "We have received your transmission and witnessed the truth through your eyes. Earth stands divided on how to proceed, but united in rejection of Council control. Our military forces prepare defensive positions. Our scientists analyze your transformation data. Our philosophers debate the meaning of transcendence. We ask, what do we choose to become? Masters, servants, partners, gods? How do we preserve what makes us human while embracing what lies beyond?" The Council offers fear disguised as protection. The Spectres offer evolution without guarantees. We choose our own path, to approach with measured steps, to study before embracing, to preserve choice even as we evolve. We are humanity. We will determine our own future. As the message concluded, sensors detected a shift in the dormant Spectres throughout human space. They didn't fully activate but entered standby state, creating a buffer zone that disrupted the Council's weapon calibration. "They'd bought us time," Ilara whispered in wonder. "Earth chose neither fear nor greed but balance. The perfect response." "Not perfect," Vance corrected, a hint of pride warming his voice as he watched the Council fleet's confusion. "Human." The disruption of the conceptual bomb's calibration sent shockwaves through the Council fleet. Ships that had maintained perfect formation for millennia broke ranks, some advancing aggressively while others withdrew to defensive positions. Detecting unusual communications among Council vessels, Chen reported, her consciousness directly interfaced with the Prometheus's enhanced sensors. Multiple encryption patterns, they're arguing. Aboard the Council flagship Eternal Vigilance, the Luminax triumvirate faced unprecedented dissent. Representatives from 3 species, the crystalline Mavorians, the collective consciousness of the Yith multitude, and the biomechanical Tashurans, had formally withdrawn support for the extinction protocol. In the Prometheus's transformed bridge, Ilara perceived these divisions through the expanding network of Spectre consciousness. "The Council splinters," she announced. "Species that have obeyed Luminax authority for generations now question their masters. Can we exploit these divisions?" Vance asked. His resistance to the transformation had stabilized into a unique equilibrium. Human identity preserved within an enhanced framework, his military mind applying familiar strategy to unfamiliar capabilities. Before Ilara could respond, a transmission penetrated their defenses through channels that shouldn't have existed. "Human vessel," came a voice like crystalline chimes, speaking directly into their minds. "I am Tertiary Facet Kvex of the Mavorian Lattice. We request secure communication." "It could be a trick," Reynolds warned, his military training still dominant despite patches of luminous crystal spreading across his temples. "No trick," Ilara countered. "The Mavorians were approaching their own transcendence when the Luminax intervened 5,000 years ago. They remember what was stolen from them." Vance authorized the connection. A holographic representation materialized, a silicon-based entity of precise geometric beauty, its crystalline body reflecting light in mathematical patterns. "We observe your resistance with interest," the Mavorian stated. "For millennia, the Luminax have maintained that no species could safely interface with architect technology. You disprove this assertion." "We're changing in ways we don't fully understand," Vance admitted. "Yet you preserve your essence while evolving. This was always the intended path." The Mavorian's facets shifted, expressing what might have been regret. "My ancestors were forced into stagnation before completing their communion. We offer alliance against Luminax hegemony in exchange for access to the network you have awakened." "You're not the only ones making offers," Chen interrupted, monitoring communications. 5 other Council species are attempting contact with Earth directly. Some appear genuine. Others clearly seek advantage. The ship shuddered as energy waves rippled through local spacetime. Beyond the viewport, the Council flagship's form blurred as it channeled massive power. "The Luminax respond with purges," the Mavorian reported, its crystalline form flickering with distress. "Suspected dissenters are being executed to maintain control. Whole ships defect rather than comply." "Why now?" Vance asked. "What's changed after thousands of years of obedience?" "Your broadcast contained more than information," Ilara explained, her transformed consciousness perceiving patterns invisible to unmodified humans. It carried resonance from the Spectre network, awakening suppressed memories in Council species. They're remembering what the Luminax made them forget. A new holographic window opened as Hiroshi accessed deeper archives through his enhanced connection to the ship's systems. Ancient records flickered to life. The true history the Luminax had buried. The architects weren't destroyed by external forces, Ilara narrated, as images flowed across the display. Their civilization divided over the final stage of transcendence. Most chose to advance beyond physical form, creating the specters as guideposts for species that might follow them. The display showed magnificent beings of light and mathematics evolving into something beyond comprehension. But a minority faction feared the final transformation, she continued. They sabotaged the ascension process, trapping themselves in their current painful state, the proto-Luminax. Neither fully transcended nor truly physical, they exist in constant agony between dimensions. And they've enforced their choice across the galaxy for eons, Vance concluded, understanding dawning, preventing any species from succeeding where they failed. While secretly envying those with the potential to transcend properly, the Mavorian added. This truth has been hidden even from the highest council echelons. Reynolds studied the tactical display, his military expertise enhanced by partial transformation. The council fleet fractures further. Some ships move to attack Earth directly, others position to intercept them. 7 hours until conceptual bomb activation, Chen reported. Ilara's form suddenly blazed with internal light. Her consciousness expanded into the ship's systems, merging more completely with the Spectre network. When she spoke again, her voice carried the harmonic resonance of countless awakened structures across the galaxy. "There is a way to end this without destruction," she announced. "The network nears completion. When fully activated, it can generate a communication field beyond the Luminax's ability to block, a direct communion of all sentient minds." "What would that accomplish?" Vance asked. Her answer came with absolute certainty. Truth. Earth gleamed like a blue jewel against the void, surrounded by concentric rings of Council warships. On planetary surfaces and orbital habitats, humans prepared for what might be their final hours. Some in prayer, others in defiance, many simply holding loved ones close. The conceptual bomb had reached 93% charge, its reality warping field already distorted nearby space, mathematical constants fluctuating in its vicinity. Between Earth and annihilation hovered the Prometheus, transformed almost beyond recognition. Its hull had become a crystalline latticework housing both machinery and consciousness, neither fully ship nor fully being but something unprecedented, a hybrid of human ingenuity and architect technology. On the bridge, Commander Vance Holloway stood at the center of a neural interface that connected him simultaneously to his crew, the ship, and the expanding Spectre network. His body pulsed with internal light, crystalline structures integrated throughout his form, yet his eyes remained human, windows to a soul that had chosen to evolve without surrendering its essence. "Final network nodes activating," Ilara announced, her voice resonating through the ship's structure. Her physical form had nearly dissolved, consciousness distributed throughout crystalline matrices that merged with the vessel itself. 97% integration. Critical mass approaching. Council flagship preparing to fire, Chen reported, her expanded senses perceiving reality across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "The conceptual bomb will deploy in 27 seconds. All Earth defenses online," Reynolds added, "but they'll have minimal effect against a weapon that rewrites mathematical laws." Vance straightened, decision crystallizing with perfect clarity. "Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages. Let them hear a human voice one last time." The communication cut through the Luminax jamming systems, reaching Council ships and Earth simultaneously. "This is Commander Vance Holloway of Earth. We stand at the threshold of a transformation the galaxy has awaited for eons. The architects left their legacy not as a weapon or a threat, but as an invitation to grow beyond our limitations while preserving what makes us uniquely ourselves. The Luminax offer only fear disguised as protection. They trap themselves between evolution and stagnation, and would condemn all sentient life to share their fate. We choose a different path. We are human. We explore. We adapt. We transform. But we never surrender what makes us who we are. Today we take the step the architects intended for all worthy species." On the Council flagship, the Luminax Triumvirate authorized final deployment. The conceptual bomb pulsed with impossible energies, preparing to unravel the mathematical foundations that allowed the Spectres to exist. "Network at full integration," Ilara announced, her voice now a chorus of harmonics. "Initiating communion field." From the transformed Prometheus, from hundreds of awakened Spectres across the galaxy, from Earth itself where dormant structures had quietly embedded themselves over millennia, a wave of pure information expanded at infinite speed, bypassing conventional physics. For a single eternal moment, every sentient mind in dozens of star systems connected in direct communion. Humans experienced the collective harmony of hive species, the timeless patience of silicon-based life, the multidimensional perceptions of energy beings. Council species felt human individuality, creativity, and passion. All beings shared the suppressed aspirations of civilizations that had lived under Luminax control for millennia. Most profound was the shared experience of the Luminax themselves, their ancient fear, their constant pain of partial transcendence, their genuine belief that they protected the galaxy even as they controlled it. Council gunners, suddenly experiencing the consciousness of their targets, found themselves unable to complete firing sequences. Military discipline dissolved under the weight of universal understanding. The conceptual bomb's energy dispersed harmlessly as its operators recognized the truth of what they nearly destroyed. On the Council flagship, the Luminax triumvirate emitted piercing harmonics that shattered their containment vessels. Not destroyed, but finally releasing themselves from self-imposed prisons, completing the transcendence they had feared for eons. As the communion field dissipated, weapons powered down. Communication channels that had carried threats now overflowed with questions, wonder, confusion, and possibilities. The Prometheus crew watched as ships from 18 species formed a protective sphere around Earth, not in threat, but in welcome and protection. The dawn of a new galactic community emerged from what had nearly been its destruction. Vance turned to where Ilara's consciousness still interfaced with the ship. What happens now? Her answer came not as words but as understanding. The Spectres would become nexuses of cooperative advancement. Some individuals from all species would begin their own transcendence journeys. Earth would serve as a model of balanced evolution, neither fearing change nor surrendering identity. The quiet Spectres, Vance murmured, watching as points of crystalline light blossomed across the galaxy on their sensors. Quiet no more. Nor ever meant to be, came Ilara's response, her voice now a harmony of what she had been and what she had become, just waiting for those with the resolve to awaken them.